Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. Your voice is power. Hi, Dominic. It's really nice to see you today.
Yes, hi Martin. I'm super excited to present Your Voice's Power specifically for our New Brunswick teachers because we've got some great curriculum connections for them.
Exactly. Today, you'll learn how to make beats and learn how to code, and you'll see a little version too on how to promote how the program promotes equity towards it. So we'll get right into the subject, and with land acknowledgement. Um, I am from the New Brunswick area, and today this session is tailored for the New Brunswick teachers. So I'm gonna do a land acknowledgement that was created with the help of Whose Land slash en. We'd like to acknowledge that we live and learn on the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq and Wolastoq people, who are part of the Wabanaki Confederacy. And we are grateful for their continued presence and their care for this land over thousands of years. And Dominic, as we are in January, a new year, it's getting colder outside, a lot of snow. I'm really thankful to have a warm shelter and to have a nice community and being able to explore our fantastic sport of hockey that is going on. That's one of my favorite times of here. And I encourage you to slow down and look outside at the nature and how the nice blanket of snow covers the trees around us.
And definitely, New Brunswick is a great province to connect with the land. It's always so beautiful, the forest, and you do get a lot of snow in New Brunswick as well.
Yes. All right. So before we get started, my name is Martin Peltier. I'm part of the Logix extended team. I'm a Logic facilitator. I'm also working for the Francophone side out of Moncton, New Brunswick, and I'll be Dominic's co-pilot today.
Yes, and I'm Dominic Tremblay. I'm a facilitator with Logix Academy. I live in beautiful Belleville, Ontario, been a teacher for 13 years, and now I've been doing some consulting for 16 years, supporting teachers across Canada. And Your Voices Power is definitely one of my favorite programs. I've been delivering a lot of in the classroom workshops, and it's always a lot of fun to get students so excited. It's a program where we start a program, we show them how it works, and they do it at home for fun. And they're so proud to show you what they create. So hopefully you will like the program and you will continue. Everything is free. So that's the magic.
Great. So here's a link to our presentation or Dominic's presentation today. You can go on this link, and this is a presentation for teachers. You could have access to this presentation if there's important information that you see or if something went too fast. This is also a pause and play. So if you want to take notes, try things out, don't hesitate to press pause and try things out. Next up, this session is brought to you by Logix Academy. You can find many lessons and many things on logixacademy.com. There's many activities or curriculums, aligned activities or scenarios that were built by us and by other uh, education professionals. Available there on various things like the Dash robots, the uh, Make Code Arcade, the Arduino bits, or MBOT. There's so many things available, so many resources available over there for various grade levels. So Logix brings a lot of those products into the curriculum and bring the connections into the various classroom or subjects. So Logix Academy is also a Microsoft Education global partner, the training partner, also with Google Cloud and Minecraft training partner as well. And we are also Apple professional learning providers. And we would sincerely like to thank today for this amazing uh, program that we have today, Kane Code and Amazon for future engineers, for making this possible for us today, making this session possible. So we're really thankful for that. And because we are thankful for that, you will have a little assignment, a little homework. For this, we will ask you to fill out a little survey. So that survey is really important for us to know who's participating in this session today, who's joining us. And by doing this, you can also get rewarded. And it's an exit survey, but if you want to fill it out at any time, feel free. You can win a gift card, Dominic. So you can win a gift card to either supply your classroom with new items, or even spoil yourself and do buy a few things for yourself, or even like Dominic said in a previous session that I gave with him, buy some Legos or things like that. So yeah.
Yep. And the reason we mentioned a survey right now is maybe at some point you will, fast forward part of the workshop, and we want to make sure that you don't skip this part, because this is really how we can get the funding to provide all of this for free. So our numbers are super important. So we would really appreciate if you take a few minutes, super short. You go to this link, bit.ly/YVIP-PD-form, and it really ensures that we can continue provide those activities for free to all of the teachers.
Exactly. And the draw will be March 31st. So you have a bit of time to do this before the end of March.
And yes, let's get going with the program.
Exactly,
This
yes.
program is 100% free thanks to the sponsors that you just heard, CanCode and the Amazon Future Engineer. And by free, we mean not only this workshop is free, but the platform to code is free. You don't need to pay any subscription or registration for your students. Another thing that is free is we're going to have a lesson for you that we will deliver on February 18. We will have a couple of time slots just to make sure that it can fit with your schedule. And the next session is actually live, designed for your students. Now we're talking teachers right now. We're going to be talking about learning outcomes from the New Brunswick curriculum, but that specific session will be towards your students. So you would put this on the big screen in front of your classroom. And this session is also free. And even more free, if you want more session after that, we can organize one-on-one, one facilitator with your classroom, and we can support you and have a full session for free. Even more than that, you can get a couple of these for free. So if you love what we're talking about today, make sure you fill out the form and make sure that you contact us to get access to more of these free lessons. So what is Your Voice's power? Well, from the logo, I think you can kind of guess. Your voice, so we're talking about saying something, bringing some meaning to the things that are important to you. And if you look, we have music notes. So it's definitely a program about music. But you also see the feather that represents the Indigenous people. And the great thing about this program is there's a big focus on Indigenous people as part of this program. So if you have any learning outcomes from your program that has to do with Indigenous culture, whether it be in social studies or in other subjects, this program is amazing. Students will discover artists from First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. And they get to connect with these artists because they meet them through videos and they learn about their music. It's a great program for that. Now, the focus for our New Brunswick teacher is the math curriculum. So Martin is an expert about everything that has to do with New Brunswick education. So he thankfully created some connection with the curriculum, and that's why he's also supporting me for this workshop, because he can bring that perspective of teaching in New Brunswick, both the English and the French side. So he has lots of experience, and we want to focus on math, but this is way more than math. This program is about history. It's about social justice. It's about those artists that use their voice to tell us about the things that were unfair in the past and try to bring equity. And sometimes we say this program may not be for students under the age of grade 5, grade 6, because sometimes they will use language that, is used to denounce what has happened in the past. And it may not be, and I always tell students, it's not bad language because they have to use this language to really tell the pain that their people felt about these things that happened in the past. But it's not something that you would use in the schoolyard. And that's how I present it to the kids. If you see a word that you would use in the schoolyard, but it appears in one of the song, that's normal. You know, when you have pain and you need to tell about it, sometimes these words are necessary. So that's how we bring the language. Now, don't worry, it's not extremely bad language. It's totally usable in the classroom. This program is designed for students. Um, Normally, we suggest middle school, but I've been personally using it in Ontario starting in grade 5 with no problem. Students have no problem doing the coding. Martin had a lot of fun in our French session earlier today doing some coding with me. So it's totally doable for students in grade 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's where we will have our curriculum connection. We're going to try to connect with these grade levels so that you can see the connection. And know that you're going to be covering those math expectations or learning outcomes at the same time as doing some history and some arts and music with your students. And I'd like to let the artists talk by themselves. They're the best ones to tell you about the program. And you will also see that there's a mix of English and French. This is not just about First Nation. We also include racialized communities that had to suffer in the past because of how unfair things were. And you will also meet some Francophone artists as well. So the video is bilingual with some subtitles. So if you see some French, don't worry, we're going to have subtitles for you. So give me a second. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to have a look at this short little video. Okay, so I think that's my screen now. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so here we go. Martin, if you don't hear the sound, please let me know so that I can restart the sharing.
The Your Voice is Power contest will launch in early 2022 and will provide middle and high school students with the opportunity to learn about coding and social justice through music. EarSketch is the coding software created by Georgia Tech University that allows students to turn code into music, along with beats and loops provided by artists like us.
On déconstruit une chanson pour pouvoir en créer une nouvelle. Donc, je pense que c'est la plus belle expérience qu'on peut faire avec une chanson déjà existante.
I think learning to code is really important these days, especially for young Indigenous people to get involved with the technology that is continuing to advance in today's society.
Hip-hop is a celebration of culture, energy, intellect, self-expression, and survival. Hip-hop teaches us that our voice is power.
You might not be aware of the light and how bright you are, but you have to know that you are capable of inspiring other people.
Maintenant, il est temps d'utiliser cette voix à travers la musique et le codage. Alors, êtes-vous prêts?
The time is now to create your remix. Let go of your inhibitions, don't be afraid to share your voice, and write from the heart.
Vous êtes un programmeur. Faites des rythmes, apprenez le codage, promouvoir l'équité.
And I can't wait to hear what you come up with.
So I think it gives you a good idea of what the program is about. And you already met some of the artists. And these artists are so nice because they donated their music so that the kids can use the music. And I think Samian was the one who explained it the best here. You decompose the music from various artists and you can pick and choose sounds from various artists and recreate your own music. And I think that's great value for students. And the reason it's called Your Voice is Power is these artists use their voice to convey a message that's important to them. And we want students to use their own voice to convey a message that is important to them. So by using the music, and when I say it's decomposed, students will find the guitar and the piano and the violin and the voice and the drum beats and the claps, and everything is separated, all in small sound file that students can use coding to recreate their own sound. So that's what Your Voices Power is all about. And often we ask, like, is it truly representing First Nation and Indigenous people well? Well, as you can see, Christine Emlott is actually an Anishinaabe educator. And she's the one who created all of the curriculum that comes with the platform. And First Nation Indigenous artists were heavily involved in the process. So I think this is a great program to bring those voices in your classroom. The good thing is everything is on the website as well. If you Google Your Voices Power, it's going to be the first one showing up. And on the website, you're going to find everything is there. For you as a teacher, you are almost on cruise control. You start those modules, you have access to the Google Slides or the PowerPoint, those videos, like everything that I've showed you is available to you and to present. Nothing is hidden. And you're going to find different modules. So if you look here, there's 8 modules that are available for you to deliver. When I say you have access to one free lesson that we will deliver on your behalf in your classroom, if you're interested, that would be module number 1. But there's 7 more that you can do with your student, and there's even more. They've recently added some AI songwriting as well. So there are so many modules that you can do with your students. And usually what I find is with lesson 1, students have enough to get started and they discover by themselves. They're not like us. They don't wait for information to come their way. They discover, they try, they're so happy to show you the things that they've discovered. So it's a great program for students to be super engaged, doing math and social studies and arts all at the same time. Now, it also comes with a competition, which is also a very fun aspect of the program, something to motivate your students. So your students will be using a platform called EarSketch, which is a platform that is available in English, in French, and in some Indigenous languages as well. And students will code using Python. So we're actually using text-based coding. And if you've been using coding such as Scratch or maybe Blockly in your classroom where you're bringing some puzzle pieces together called coding blocks, you may find that coding in Python is a bit difficult at start. But don't worry, I'm going to give you all of the tips and tricks to make it easy for you. So your students will be typing code, but we're using something called autocomplete, where you start typing and you just click and it's going to complete the code for you. So you're going to find it's not difficult. Students have until June to do it. So right now we are in January, February, when you're taking this workshop. Our student workshop will be on February 18. So it gives them quite a few months between now and the end of the school year to create their own songs, get their voice out there, say things that they are passionate about. It could be about social justice, but it could also be about the environment, about their culture, about something that is important to their values. We want them to have music that is meaningful to them. And we have prizes. So 50 students will win prizes. And we have a panel of judges, professional musicians, artists from the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit as well. And the 2 best projects, the 2 best songs will also receive a $5,000 scholarship that they can use to start a business, and they will also receive a gift from an Indigenous artist. So all of the song requirements and everything that they need to know is on the website. You have access to the website, students have access to the website, everything is there. Now, I'd like to introduce one of the artists from a few years ago, 2022. Her name is Miyuki Dreyer, and she's a student from Toronto, and she was one of the big winners. So she got the $5,000 scholarship. And I'd like to show you her code and show you what she has created. So give me a second. I'm going to start my EarSketch, and we're going to get going. Okay, so here we go. So here we go, EarSketch. So Martin, if you can confirm that you see my EarSketch here.
Yeah, it works.
And I'm going to go in my script and I'm going to grab Miyuki's. I've already saved her song on my computer. The cool thing for your students is looking at past submission. They can actually look at the code and get inspired. So this is Miyuki's code that you see right here. And as you can see, she added some comment. She's a Francophone student, so she did put some of her comment in French. But look how cool that is. You've met Dakota Bear in the video. Dakota Bear was there. You met Samian, which was the French artist. He's there. Farewell Williams, Khalid. There was also, you also met Jaylee Wolf as part of this video as well. So all great artists that are there. Some are more well-known, like Alicia Keys, and some may not be well-known to your students, but hopefully by the end of the program, they will get to know all these students. By the way, when I say there's 8 modules, in each PowerPoint, they will introduce one of the artists with bio and some information about the artist. So this is not just about math and not just about coding. This is a lot also about social studies and learning about artists. So this is her code. And if you've never done this kind of coding, you may be surprised. Maybe you say, this is too much for me, but don't worry. You're going to see it's pretty easy. We're going to be doing it very soon, and you're going to go, oh, that's it. So this is the code that will run our music. So let me run the code by clicking run. And you see immediately our code shows up here as as all of the sound clips that are showing up. This is what we call the digital audio workstation. And this is where the music takes shape from the code. So in the middle, we have the code editor, and this is the digital workstation. So let me play her song just so that you have a quick overview of what she's done.
Doing this work as we can't just pray anymore. Doing this work as we can't just pray anymore. Doing this work as we can't just pray anymore. We must do something, and we need to do it now.
Almost like you're screaming, no one hears your voice.
We want the freedom and not the illusion. We are the warriors. The ones that you read in the stories, we are notorious.
So as you can see, it creates something pretty cool. And if you look, each of these clips are from different artists, and she just put them together and created her own song. The cool thing is students can also record their own voice. And if they are a musician, they could actually use a piano or a guitar or a violin, any instrument, and they could use their microphone to record themselves as well. So they don't have to use only the sound clips that are provided, although there's 5,000 of them. So there's a lot, but they can also add their own sound clips as well. So that's an example from a student that has created a song, and hopefully your students will be excited to create something similar in the future. So this is her submission, and that was your first look at EarSketch. But in the second half an hour, so in about 10 minutes, we're going to actually code in EarSketch ourselves, so you're going to learn how to use this. So how does that fit what you teach? Well, thanks to the great work of Mr. Martin, who is with me here, we try to connect it with math. And I know you could connect it with other curriculum. I know there's some social studies in there. There's definitely some arts included in there. But because almost every class, well, every classes do math, I think it's great to connect it with math. So we know we're covering part of our curriculum by doing this. And then if it covers extra thing, then bonus. You can cover other things as well. You could also do language art, because students will be creating the meaning for their song and their lyrics and all of that. So you could also include language art for sure. So we've decided to focus on number sense grades 6 to 8, which is middle school. Is that how you call it, Martin, in beautiful New Brunswick?
Yeah, I'm trying to speak. My mic is off. Yes, Dominic. Yes, and you'll see that when Dominic explains it, he explicitly makes the links to the curriculum and explains why those things are important and linked to the curriculum. So, yeah.
Yeah. So students will use fractions because, as you know, music is usually 8 times. So everything is a fraction of 8. So 4/8, which would be half. So that's why when you do dancing and you take dance lesson, they go 5, 6, 7, 8 in, and then you start dancing. It's because it's all multiple of 8s. So students learn about fractions, they learn about multiples, they will learn about ordering fractions, smaller, larger fractions, and they will also be using decimals. And fractions in this kind of coding is expressed as decimals. So students will need to convert. What is 1/2? Oh, it's 0.5. What is 1/4 or a quarter? It's 0.25. Students will be using decimal numbers, and they will be using decimal numbers to many place values as well. Because if you take 0.5, where you go all the way to the 10th place value, well, it's not extremely precise, but if you want to be more precise, you will go to the 100th or the 1000ths. So that's why we included decimal numbers, because that's what students will need to do to position their music. So students will kind of be solving real life problem, because when you're trying to match your voice with the music and you're trying to position that sound clips, you're actually using fractions that are useful. It's not, doing fractions for to fill out your worksheet. It's actually useful. You're using it to position your sound clips. Now, another thing that we didn't mention here, but I do want to mention it because is algebra. Because we're going to be using variables. So when your students are completing those lessons, they have to use variables. And I know variables are a bit different in computer science than they are in math, because in math, we usually use one letter. Sometimes we use a Greek letter as well, kind of cool. But in computer science, you can actually use more. You could use a whole word to be your variable. And that's just the way computer science works, a bit differently, but students will still make that connection between the variables that they see in the math curriculum and the variables that they use in computer science. And same thing, the same idea in grade 7. Students also need to understand fractions, decimal, and percentages. And what's pretty cool is nothing in the platform is actually in percentages, but it is. It's just that we express it as a decimal. So as an example, if I decide to put some reverb or some distortion to my music, you have to put a value between 0 and 1 to determine how much of this distortion or reverb you want on your sound clip. Well, 1 would be considered max, which is 100% of the effect. 0 would be considered nothing, and then anything in between is a decimal, but it is also a percentage. So if you want 50%, you're going to put 0.5 as a decimal. So students in this program will really make the connection between switching from fractions to decimals to percentages as they are completing the activities. And finally, in grade 8, we also included proportional reasoning. And you do need that. Sometimes you say, oh, I want this clip to be twice the length or 3 times the line, 3 times as long, or a half of this. So being able to make proportion between the length of different sound clips is called proportional reasoning, and students will be doing that as well. So they will be using those rational numbers, and they will have to order them and work with them. And again, they will be solving problems that involve, authentic operation. This is not fake. This is not a worksheet. This is true use of math. And to me, to see that arts actually has math behind that is so cool. To make the connection between math and science and arts, to me, is magical. I've never been personally a big fan of arts like that. It was not my favorite subject. I've always loved math and science. But once I've discovered how much math and science are behind the arts, I have much more appreciation for the arts now. So I think your students will truly enjoy seeing how math can actually be useful. And to make sure that you fit with your curricular expectations, one thing that we encourage students to do is to use comments. So as part of the platform, your students can add comments to their code. And these comments are basically ignored by the Python compiler, but The good news is that you, as a human, can read them. So if your students say, I've created a repetition here, and this is how I mathematically created that repetition, you want them to write that. You want them to document what they've been doing. Because professional coders in real life documents what they do. Imagine all of the coders at Instagram, at Meta, they're coding Instagram. Well, there's not just one person coding Instagram. There's a team. And they need to make sure that when one member of the team adds a line of code to Instagram, the rest of the programmers know what it does. So they will comment their code. So by encouraging students to comment their code so that you have your curriculum connection to the Math New Brunswick curriculum, at the same time, you're also teaching them proper coding etiquette, which is to include your comments. So this is some example of the use of comments. So as you can see, Miyuki, in the example we just looked at, used comments to tell us which artist she was using in her song. In this case, some of these students did some land acknowledgement. So that's a great way as well to include that information. But because we're going to be focusing with math for our lesson, I would encourage students to use comment to describe how they mathematically came up with what they've been doing in their song. So just so you know, before we start playing with the platform, we got you. So even if when I'm present, you go, oh, I don't feel comfortable teaching it myself, well, we got you. We are teaching for you on February 18, 2026. So we're going to have a couple of times published for you. And what we recommend is that you go in the description of this video, and you're going to find a link that you can click and connect to a lesson that is specifically designed for New Brunswick students with curriculum connection to the New Brunswick curriculum. So it's going to be perfect for your students. Make sure you tell your colleagues as well. And that's basically module 1. So we're going to go through module 1 with your students. We're going to teach them how to code their song and how to use math to do that. And after that, if you've enjoyed that, your students enjoy that, you can contact Logix Academy to book even more lessons. And in those extra lessons, we basically select the time together and we have a one-on-one. So basically, one of our facilitator will come on cam and we set a time and your students can ask questions and we can teach them those extra lessons. So you are fully covered for this program. I think if you complete this with us and then you attend on the 18th, your students will be ready to participate in that competition as well. So let's do a quick walkthrough. I know in New Brunswick, we have pretty specific and strict rules when it comes to account creation. We don't want to create accounts and provide students personal information on servers that are unknown. So the way this is done is when you go to Your Voices Power, yourvoicespower.ca, you can also just Google Your Voices Power. It's going to be the first link that you're going to find there. What you want to do is to click on Start Coding. In the upper right corner, you're going to click Start Coding. When you get to that Start Coding, it's going to show you this screen, which is the ear sketch screen. Now, do you see that skip button? I want you to skip because this is a long tutorial and you have me. And even when we do the lesson on the 18th, your students will have one of us delivering to them. So you don't need to do that full tutorial. So you can skip that. The next step is you want to create an account. So in the upper right corner, you're going to find something that says create or reset an account. So you're going to click create an account. And once you're there, this is the magic. You do not provide the email because that's considered students' private information. So students will select a username, and we highly recommend that they don't use their first and last name. Well, could use their first, but definitely not use their last name in the username. As Martin said in the previous workshop, it's going to be their artist name. So they can find anything that would be appropriate, obviously, as a username. Just make sure they remember their username, and then they will select a password. Now, because we're not providing the email address, there will be no way to do a password reset. So make sure they note their username and password, because if they lose them, they won't be able to come back and continue their work. But by doing this, you ensure that the information is very confidential, because Your Voices Power has no information about who the student is. They could be just basically generic account. And I've actually seen some schools do that. Like they use the school initial and then add student 1, student 2, student 3. So that way there's no way to know who did the work. So that's how you create the account. And from the account created, this is where you can start to explore the sound. And this is where I'm actually going to switch to EarSketch and do full demo for the next 25 minutes. And hopefully you grab your computer and you have some fun with me. I know in the previous workshop, Martin was having so much fun coding at the same time as me. And the good thing is, because this is a pre-recorded workshop, at any time you can pause Martin and I and try it and then restart the workshop. That's the magic. It's also going to be like that on the 18th, on February the 18th. It's going to be a YouTube live, so we're going to be live. But if you need extra time, or your students need extra time, you can always pause the workshop. Or if the time that we set happens to have, a lunch, little break, snack break, or a recess or something like that, you can always pause the workshop for 10 minutes and then come back to the workshop. So I'm going to switch to my screen and we're going to have some fun. Martin, hopefully you see my EarSketch right now.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I'm actually going to close this. I'm just going to erase everything. Give me a few seconds here. You don't need to do what I'm doing right now, because basically your account is brand new. Okay. So now it's like I have a brand new account. So as you can see, I am logged in. So in the upper right corner, you see D Tremblay, which is my username for Dominic Tremblay. I'm an adult, so I don't mind putting my last name, but students I would not recommend. Okay. So I'm on EarSketch. And on the left-hand side, this is where you have all of the sounds. So when I say you have sounds from various artists, this is what you see here. See, Dakota Bear. We met Dakota Bear in the video we watched earlier. Here I have Alicia Keys, very well known. Samian, which was the French artist that you saw. Jaylee Wolf. All of these artists are right here. And you can actually click, let's say I say Alicia Keys, and now I see only the sound clips from Alicia Keys. Now, you may be surprised that Dominic Tremblay, D Tremblay here, is a famous artist on the platform. No, I'm not. It's my personal sound. So when you record your own voice, your sound now are part of your account. Don't worry. The sounds that you record, like the sound that the student would record, are not visible by the rest of the population. They're just visible under your own account. Okay, so now I say, okay, I want to see sounds from Alicia Keys, so I can listen to them. So see, this is the acoustic guitar, so let me play it. And Martin, if you can confirm that you can hear the sound. And as you can see, it's pretty short because it's not the whole song. It's just a part of the song. And see, you have another one here. Oh, I think I played the same one. Let me go with a piano one. And these sounds are designed so that you can loop them if you want. If you need some claps, they even separate the claps from the song. Like this, see? Be pretty cool to add some claps to your song, some stomp. Here we go. And then if you want some voice.
Everybody rise up. You gonna rise it.
And this is where I say some of the song might be, using some language that we would not be using in the schoolyard. So you have all of this, and this is just Alicia Keys. Imagine like all of these artists. I just want Khalid. I select Khalid, and I have all of the sounds here from Khalid. You can also go by genre. So let's say you want just country music, or you just want hip hop, or just Latin sound. So you can search by genre. You can even go by instrument. So let's say I just want piano, or I just want drums. So you can specifically select what you want, and you have access to all these sounds. Now you will notice some of my sound, I put a star. These are sound that I've decided to put as favorite. So your students, once they find a sound that they like, they can put a favorite. So like this. So now when they need to see only their favorite, they say show only favorite, and it kind of limit. So instead of showing like 5,000 sounds, now they just have the sound that they've identified. Because sometimes it might be hard to find a sound that you had previously seen. So if you like something, you put it as a favorite. So this is basically your content manager. And by the way, your content manager might be closed the first time you go. So this is how you open or close the content manager. Sometimes you may want to close it to focus on your code. And then when you need to go back to your sound manager, you can reopen the content manager. Makes sense so far? Martin, still following?
Yep, everything good. My microphone's off, so I'm testing the sounds here. I'm discovering a bunch of
Actually,
artists.
Oh, and by the way,
Really
one quick tip that I would recommend is to get your students to bring earbuds or headphones. Most of them would have earbuds with their cell phone or with their, I was going to say MP3 device or iPods, but that's probably not what students are using these days. But they have earbuds or headphones. Might be easier in a classroom than having all of these sounds coming from all of the laptops. Now, the next part is where you're going to have your scripts. So the scripts is basically, it's like your OneDrive or your Google Drive. This is where all of the file are stored. Now, in this case, I have a lot. In my case, I have 95 scripts because I do this almost on a daily basis. But your students would have the few scripts that they've created. They can also manage them, delete them, reorganize them. And Martin was asking in a previous workshop, does it save automatically? And yes, every time you run your script, it saves your script. So students will never lose a lot of work, even if internet connection is spotty in your school district or in your school. It will save often enough that you will never lose a lot of code if it happens. Okay, so the middle part here, and I say the middle part because there's a part on the right that is closed right now. It's called the curriculum. The reason I closed it is we don't actually need it today because you have me. But if you need to have access to all of the details, like you want to learn about stuff, everything is here. See, all of the unit, you have access to so much information, all right here for you or your students to learn. But today, because I'm with you, we're going to close the curriculum. It gives us a little bit more space to code. So the middle part is where you have most of the information. So you see where it says code editor here? This is where you can create a new code. So to create a new code, you would click create a new script and you give it a name. Now, Python is not as nice as OneDrive when you create a name. So you cannot use accented characters, emojis, spaces, dash, all of these you cannot. Just use regular letters and numbers. So I'm going to call it Cool Song New Brunswick. Cool Song NB. And as you can see, I'm using uppercase to make it a bit more obvious of the different words, but I'm not using any spaces here. When it asks you which language you want to use, just make sure that you keep it to Python because all of the PowerPoint, all of the training, everything is in Python. So if you were to switch it to JavaScript, then the code would not match what we're doing in the workshop and what you see on the PowerPoint that are on the website. So leave it on Python. So I'm going to create, and when you create, you can always reorganize, resize all of the windows. You're going to see there's code right here. Don't delete this code. It's very useful and necessary. Actually, here, this part from EarSketch import all, this line is absolutely necessary, so don't delete this one. Now, at the bottom here, this is what we have, what we call the console, and it's going to show you whether your script ran successfully or if you had a mistake. And you hopefully you don't have a mistake. So what you hope is that it's going to say script ran successfully. That's a very feel-good thing when you see this. When you see a mistake, don't freak out. Tell your students not to freak out. If you see a mistake, it's going to say there's an error on line 5. You just need to go and do some debugging and try to find what that mistake is. And at the top, you have what we call the digital audio workstation. This is where all of the sound clips that are organized to create the song will show up. Remember when I showed you Miyuki's example? This is where basically the song appears. And I was talking with Martin and say, it looks like GarageBand or any of these audio apps that you use to create audio. The only difference is instead of using your mouse, you're actually using code to create the mix that you are doing. So let's write our first code if you're ready. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go on line number 5 because there's nothing on line number 5. So we take the next line that is available and I'm going to call this fit media. So this is the first coding word that students will learn is fit media. This is the one that they will most heavily use. Now, it is impossible to type the whole thing perfectly without any mistakes. So my suggestion is students start typing FI, and then they come and click on the fit media that is showing on top. This prevents them writing mistakes because as an example, in the word fit media, if they didn't put the uppercase M, the code would return a big mistake. Now, as you can see, the code requires 4 information here. Some of this information is words, some of them are numbers, and we're already starting to get into the math here. So the first thing that I need to put is which sound I want to add to my song. So my suggestion is do not try to select it with your mouse like this, because sometimes when you select with your mouse, you may forget a letter like this. See, I forgot the D. Or maybe you will, by mistake, grab the comma, and you don't want that. So my suggestion is you go in the word sound and you double-click on it. That way you select specifically what you need. And then when I go on my sound, my content manager here, where I have all of my sound, I'm going to select the sound. So I'm going to add some guitar from Alicia Keys here. So I'm going to click the paste. So see, you have the blue icon, which is a copy paste just beside the song. And I'm going to click on it. And look, automatically it put the sound with no mistake. Because what I would need to do is to type this with no mistake. That's impossible. Like I will make a mistake. Your kids will make a mistake when they try to type this perfectly. So it's easier just to go copy paste. Now, see what happens is if I didn't do that, let's say I selected this like this. And I copy paste. Well, see, now the problem is there's this extra D that showed up. And then when I'm going to try to run the code, it's going to say syntax error on line 5. So always double click and then copy paste. The second thing is it asking me for the track. And I don't know if you remember when we look at Miyuki's song, she had all of the different tracks. So basically they are numbered from 1 to the infinity. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we are bringing numbers here. We're using integers. We're using positive integers starting with 1. So my first track will be track number 1. So I double click on the word track and I replace it with the number 1. Now, it is also asking me, where do I want to start and end? So your first timestamp would be 1. Now, you remember I say everything comes in groups of 8 when it comes to music. So let's say for the end, I'm going to put 8 just to show you. Okay? So starting at 1, ending at 8. So if I run this code, look at that. It has been added. And if I play it now, playing the guitar. And now I kind of want to bring your attention to what's happening here at timestamp 6 here. So if I zoom in, timestamp 5. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times, this is where we have our first sound. Now starting at timestamp 5 all the way to the end is the second time it plays. But as you can see, it didn't play it completely. It is kind of cut here. It's cropped. And the reason is that, look at that, 5, 6, 7, this is not a complete 4. See, this is 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces, not 4 of them. So surprisingly, to get 8, I actually need to go from 1 to 9. And the reason is in coding in your sketch, you don't start at 0. You actually start at 1. So from 1 to 9, if you do 9, take away 1, it actually gives you 8. So that's why by going from 1 to 9, you're going to have enough space to play this twice. And you have to remember that because everything is based on 8, this sound is actually seen as being 1/2 of the 8. It's taking 4 spaces out of the 8 spaces available. So 4/8 is actually equals to 1/2. So at this point, this is where, again, you bring the idea of fraction. Everything is based on 8, but this sound, the length of this sound is 4. 4 is half of 8. So if I want my full 8, I need to play it twice. So cool. I like everything is based on math. So now if I run the code again and see, whenever I press run here, this is when it saves again. It has just been saved. So now any modification that I made has been saved. So now if I try it here again, now it's going to have time to play it twice. And now it had time to play it twice. If I want to play it only one, I will play once. I will play from 1 to 5, which gives me 4, a length of 4, which would be half of my 8th. So now if I try it here, let's go. So let me add a second fit media. I'm going to put this one back to 9. So it plays it twice. And I'm going to add a second fit media. So I'm going to go to line 6. And I'm going to put fit media. I'm going to select it right here. And I'm going to add some voice to what I'm doing here. So I'm going to double click on sound. And I'm going to go and grab some voice here. Vocals. Here we go. So I'm going to copy paste. And then for the track, I cannot select track number 1 because track number 1 is already used by the guitar. So to put my vocals, I need to put it on track number 2. Now I need to decide where it's going to start. So if I were to put from 1 to 3 as an example, and I run this code, you will see that in this case, the voice starts immediately when I start the music. Everybody rise up! Which is not really how music starts. You usually have a bit of music before you start the voice. Unless you go like Miyuki, where she actually put voice before the music started, which was also a really cool thing that she did. But as an example, let's say I'm going to go from 3 to 5 now. See now.
Something that I noticed, Dominic, is when you put your next line, or let's say you run your code or you have a mistake, it's going to show you right away. So you can fix your mistake right away.
Oh, yeah. So let's say I remove that comma here, okay? So I made that mistake. I run it. It's telling me that I have a syntax error on line 6. So, and a syntax error is probably something missing, like either a parenthesis or a comma or something like that. Now, as I told you, even something like, see, lowercase m, and now it says, whoa, I don't know what that is. Fit media? Imagine if we were so strict with our students that one little thing like an uppercase, lowercase, we would say, I don't know what your text mean. I have no idea. But that's how Python works. Okay.
Or even computers, we have to be so specific when we give command. Like we're exactly the one. Yeah.
Less and less now, AI is pretty good at figuring out what I want, even if I make a lot of mistakes in my prompt. But this is new AI. Okay, so now as you can see, I am repeating from 3 to 5. The reason it repeats it twice, see that voice, is because this voice has a length of 1. So basically, it's 1/8 of that segment, which measures 8. So by playing it from 3 to 5, it has times to play it twice because 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2/8. So it has time to play it twice. Now, if I want to play it, let's say 3 times, I could say from 3 to 6. And if you look now, it's going to play it 3 times. So you have full control of what's happening. And you could even, if you want, say, okay, I want to play it, let's say from 3 to 4. And then I'm going to copy paste this and say, I want to play it from 5 to 6. The reason I'm doing this is now I want a little space between my two repetition. So I'm playing it from 2 to 4, and then I'm not doing anything from 4 to 5, and then I'm doing it from 5 to 6. So students have full control once they understand fit media. Now, let me show you a little bit more math, because our workshops is about math. And by the way, here we had like almost 35 minutes of explaining what the program is and the curriculum expectation. With the kids, we dive immediately into the program. So when we have our lessons on February the 18th, students will have a lot more time to do coding and do math like we're doing right now. So what I want to show you is, let's say this sound clip, I want to play it a bit earlier, but maybe 2 is too early. So I'd like to start it at 2.5. So what students will need to do here is, instead of putting 2, they're going to put 2.5, so 2.5, because 5/10 is half in decimal. So 2.5, and now as you can see, it starts at 2.5, but now students will go, oh, but 2.5, but it plays it 1.5. That's not what I want. So because it has a length of 1, if I do 2.5 plus 1, I actually need to bring it all the way to 3.5 and not 4. So now in this case, my sound clips will, if I zoom in here, you will see it starts at 2.5 and ends at 3.5. And if students need to be even more precise, what they can do here, they could say, maybe I want to start it at 2 point, and now we're going to go to the next place value. This is where we cover our learning outcomes that have to do with the decimal number. So I'm going to go with 1/4, and we're going to say, well, what is 1/4? In decimal numbers, it's 0.25. So I'm going to go from 2.25 to 3.25. Quickly look at what happens when I run this code. Look at how it moved. And now if I zoom in, you will see that it starts at 2 1/4 right here and ends at 3 1/4. And sometimes when you try to sync the vocals and the music, you need to be even more precise. So your students may actually need to go to more place values to get that precision that they need. So now they're using decimals, and they're seeing a real use for decimal numbers that, when you do a worksheet, you don't really see a use for doing decimal numbers. But here you have an actual use for positioning your music the way you want. And I know we are almost out of time, but I just want to show you another use of numbers that we have. Let's say I want to change the volume. So for that, we're going to set an effect, okay? And if you go like, how do you know all of this, Dominic? There is what we call an API, a dictionary with every word that you need to code. And in this case, I'm going to set an effect on track number 1. And the effect that I want to set is called volume. I want to change the volume of my music. And what I want to change in the volume is what we call the gain. And if you've used a soundboard before, you have those knobs that says gain to change the volume. And for my gain, then I have to put a value. And now we're going to be using what we call integers, which is negative and positive numbers. And students, when they give the value, a value of 0 means the sound remains at the same volume. Whereas if you increase the gain, so if you go positive, it's going to increase the volume. And if you use a negative number, it's going to make the volume go down. So let's say I'm going to start with -20, and I'm going to run the code. You're going to find that the music is soft compared to the voice. Very soft. Maybe I went too soft. Maybe I'm going to go -10. Still soft. Not too bad. And I could go even, let me go more. I'm going to go 10. I'm going to go +10. So that's going to increase my volume above the original volume. So see now the voice is actually quite soft compared to the volume. So these are just few examples of how we use all sorts of numbers, integers, decimals, fractions, percentages when we're doing coding on the platform. So hopefully it gives you, just a little head start. We're going to do a lot more with your students. So very important is to fill out our exit survey. So this is so we can get the funding, bit.ly/YVIP, Your Voice is Power, -PD-form. It's essential that you do this. This is how we know about numbers, because we don't know who's watching it right now, but we really want to have this information. So take time to scan the QR code or type this. This is also in the workshop description. And don't forget, February the 18th, sign up your students, because we want to see them and deliver this workshop for them and have them love math, love music, and love social justice and history at the same time, and discover those First Nation and Indigenous artists. Martin, any last word that you have for our participant?
Well, I can't wait until I showcase this to the students and they try various things. They'll be so proud of their composition, and even I started a few tracks and I want to finish them myself too. So yeah.
Make sure you go to sleep tonight and you don't code all night.
I'll try.
Just a quick reminder that you can win $100 on Amazon if you fill out the survey. So we're going to have a little draw. And thank you so much for being with us. Keep this date in mind. Go in your school calendar and write February 18. We want to see you. We want to have New Brunswick listening to our workshop.
Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you. Bye-bye.